The ultimate goal is wife and mother. Welcome to Change the Conversation with the Hopefulist. My name is Wendy McClure, and it's time we had a conversation about living in a patriarchy and how that affects our lives. Together, we can make a difference and change the conversation. Welcome and thank you for being here today. I appreciate you and honor you for delving into these difficult conversations, these topics that can be very draining and dreary, and at the same time can lift us way up because we know that the reason that we have always felt incomplete is because we have been incomplete. So thank you for being here, and I really appreciate the fact that you are here to realize how much the patriarchy has affected and directed your life. I'm going to start off with the quote of the day. What if you had the kind of compassion for yourself that you tend to reserve for other people? You know, that's the one mainstay, that thing that always continues to be, is how hard we are on ourselves. And, you know, we just need to give ourselves a break. We need to cut ourselves some slack, and we need to focus on what we're doing right instead of what we're doing wrong. You know, there's so many situations when we are so hard on ourselves, but we never celebrate ourselves. Now, if you've been listening for a while, you know I'm a very avid pickleball player. And one of the many examples of how this, pans out is I can be playing a game of pickleball and I'll make 14 great shots in a row. But that one shot that I missed or hit into the net, I am just all over myself for that one, right? So why don't we focus on the 14 instead of the one? So today I wanted to talk a little bit more about how little girls, are conditioned into participating in the patriarchy from a very young age. And that's what we focused on last week, and I'm going to continue with that this week. And the first thing that I really wanted to discuss was more toys. We were discussing the difference between boys' toys and girls' toys last time. And one thing I wanted to bring up and put a little focus on was the fact that boys are not allowed to play with dolls. They will be made fun of relentlessly if they are to play with a doll, to act like a father, to, put a baby to bed, to give a baby a bottle. Men will force little boys to stop playing with dolls. So what is the message that this is sending? It's sending a message that boys/men are not supposed to take care of little babies because they're not even allowed to play with them when they're kids. The boys are not even allowed to touch the babies. So it's no wonder they get this sense and this idea that the women are supposed to be the only ones to take care of the children, because that's what they're taught. You don't touch the baby doll translates into you don't touch the baby. And this has been going on forever. Now, I know a lot of men are pitching in a lot more now with the childcare and the housework and stuff like that. And we have come a long way. I'm going to go as far as to say it's a long way from how things were 40, 50 years ago. But there is still a long way to go. There is still a long way to go. Let's talk about the fact that girls' toys are basically just conditioning of them to become wives and mothers. we talked a little bit about the toys last time, and I want to continue with that, where the girls have the dolls and they have the high chair and they have the bottles. And what is all those toys doing? It's teaching you how to be a mother. When you're playing dress up, it's teaching little girls right away they have to dress up in order to look in a way that will bring them positive attention. Again, boys don't have dress-up clothes in the same vein that girls do. I mean, boys can dress up as superheroes and stuff like that, but that doesn't translate into real life as they get older, where girls are not necessarily thinking that they're going to be a princess, but they will wear dresses and high heels and be expected to put makeup on and have their hair done just right all the time. So this is all conditioning. This is all setting the stage for how girls are supposed to act as opposed to how boys are supposed to act. I know when I was growing up, when I was very young, one year for Christmas, my sister and I suppose my brother was included in it too. It was one of those, we had a big Christmas where we got a lot of really big gifts for the whole family. And one of them was a kitchen set so that we could pretend to cook. Yeah, pretend to cook. Get them early and show them what they're expected to do. Same thing, we got high chairs for our doll babies so that we could feed them properly. And, these are all thought out plans that are put this way on purpose so that the girls will learn their place, which is wife and mother, and the boys can basically do whatever they want. Without any repercussions, without any fault, without any accountability. Now, it seems like I probably went off into a whole different thing there, and that brings up my next point, is girls in school often have to cover up when they're at school. There's all of these rules when it comes to girls' clothing. You can't show your shoulders. You can't have shorts on. You can't have certain things that would have like a little hole in the middle of the chest or something. Obviously not showing any type of real, cleavage or breasts or anything like that. But, there seems to be this idea that girls can't dress in certain ways. And what is the reason for that? It's because boys can't control themselves. It's going to distract the boys. That's what we've always heard, right? Well, when the girls dress like that, the boys are all distracted because they're looking at the girls. Okay, so instead of correcting the boys, instead of saying, hey, boys, hey, up here, boards up here, let's pay attention to the lesson, or even going a step further and saying, just because she's wearing shorts doesn't mean that's not an invitation to ogle her. It's not an invitation to see her as an object, because that's really what this all comes down to. It's that pre-training that they get right from the very beginning, that one, when they do get distracted by something, it's not their fault. It's not their fault they're distracted. It's the girl's fault for distracting them. And this plays into the whole thing about how girls who dress a certain way have certain reputations because it's looked at as inviting. Well, you're just inviting trouble when you dress like that. Oh, really? Am I? I can't wear whatever I want, whenever I want, just because I want? Because that's going to invite trouble. So I have to not be able to do things, dress what I want, how I want, because it's acceptable in society for boys and men to take advantage of that. And yet we put the blame on the woman. Well, did you see the way that she was dressed? I mean, do you blame the guy? Yes, we need to start blaming the guy. Yes, we need to start blaming the guy because they do have self-control. They are able to stop themselves from doing things they know they shouldn't be doing. But the culture that we have lets them off the hook before they even do something. And it starts in elementary school with teaching boys that when they get distracted in class, that's not their fault. That's the girl's fault because they had the nerve to wear something that may not be what everyone else is wearing, but still totally in line in something that is appropriate to wear in school. There is a state that just reenacted a dress code for women in their House or Senate chambers that women have to wear long sleeves at all times. And, I just find it to be laughable. Really, in 2023, we're still telling women that they are responsible for how men act in society. It is our duty and our responsibility to tone ourselves down. We can't be ourselves because I got to tell you what. When I was young and I was looking good, I did dress a certain way. And I stopped at a certain point. But if I could go back now, oh my gosh, I would walk around in a bikini constantly in the way that I used to look because I looked awesome. And I wanted to show that body off because I was proud of it. And that didn't mean that I wanted somebody to come and violate me. That meant that I was proud of my body and that I found certain clothes to be cute. And if that showed off some skin, then so be it. I am so sick and tired of the woman being blamed for bad male behavior. It has been going on forever, and it needs to stop. And that's why I talk about this stuff all the time. We have just accepted the fact that if a woman is dressed a certain way, she's asking for it. And that is just so ridiculous. I mean, if you really stop to think about that statement, well, if a girl is dressed in a provocative way, and again, why do we call it provocative? Why is it even called provocative when you're dressed in something that shows a little cleavage, that may be a little bit of a short skirt, why is it called provocative? But when a man walks around shirtless, that's not provocative or sexy at all. That they're completely free to do that because it's not been labeled that way, because they are not being blamed for the behavior of women. Not that women do the same thing, but you get what I'm saying. A man could wear shorts that are riding all the way up his crotch, and they still wouldn't say, oh, well, he's just asking to get violated. No, they wouldn't say that. It absolutely would not happen. So even the words and the language that we are using is setting women up to be the victim. We're setting women up to be the one to blame for the situation by just using the word provocative, sexy, slutty, what have you. And it teaches men that they're not truly responsible for their actions because they're being excused from the time that they're little boys. And it continues as they grow up because, like I said, women who are dressed a certain way are seen as asking for it. And seriously, let's just stop for a second and think about that and how ridiculous that is, that women are expected to dress a certain way. And when they dress that in a way that's not considered respectable, it's called all of these names that insinuate sex. But it's not the same situation for the men. When they're walking around wearing next to nothing, it's not even perceived as sexy. These are some of the things that I am trying to point out. Boys and men are responsible for their own behavior. They are responsible for controlling themselves at all times. Because if it truly came down to, I've said this before, I will say it a million times, what it truly comes down to is if men could not, literally physically could not control themselves against women that are dressed provocatively, women that have not much clothing on, there would be assaults on the beach every single day. And there isn't. It doesn't even get close to happening because we just expect to see women in bathing suits and bikinis when you head to the beach. And how is it that they can control themselves in that situation? But when they see a woman in a bar that has on more clothing than a bikini, that means she's asking for it. Please help me out. If I'm misunderstanding something, if you think that what I'm saying is not the actual case, then feel free to reach out, give me some feedback. I would love to hear how everyone else is perceiving this, because that's exactly how I perceive it. Let's talk a little bit more about boys and girls in school. How many times were you told as a girl that if a boy was pulling your hair or making fun of you or teasing you, oh, well, that means he likes you. That means he likes you. Oh, that's so cute. He likes you. And I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know. I mean, obviously, they're trying to get your attention. Maybe that is their way, and then they are encouraged because they hear other people say, oh, that means he likes you. And he kind of gets conditioned to act that way to get a girl to notice him. Or he can just be, being a little punk, and somebody misinterprets it that way. And girls think, oh, well, it's actually a good thing. It's actually a good thing that he's making fun of me, being mean to me, hurting me by pulling my hair. And let's think about what this message is sending to young kids about how you treat each other as you grow older. Could it possibly be a setup for men abusing women? Because how far is that stretch? If we're telling boys and girls in elementary school that if when a boy is pulling your hair, which hurts, which is literally like assault, physical assault. Now, I'm not saying that, little boys should be arrested for physical assault. What I am saying is as you get older, it becomes a physical assault. And it shouldn't be done when they're little kids either. Nobody should be touching anybody, anywhere, for any reason without permission. And the fact that they're just not only allowing the boys to get away with this activity of pulling hair or, being mean, of teasing, it encourages the boys to think it's okay to do. And it conditions the girls to think that that's what they need to put up with in order to have the attention they would like from boys. The more I dive into this stuff, the more upset I get, because this is just so far-reaching. It's infiltrated so many aspects of our lives. And as I've said before, until you start to notice it and you start to question it, you don't realize how much of this has gone on because you've just always taken it for the way that it is. Well, this is just always the way that it is. And we weren't taught to question things. We were told things, and that's the way it was. And generations after my generation, I'm Gen X, after, the next generations, millennials, Gen Z, they are questioning things. And I applaud them. And I hope that us older women start to catch on, because the thing is women get put into this box because of all of the expectations that are put on them. They can't dress the way that they want. They have to put on makeup and get their hair done. They have to wear uncomfortable shoes. I mean, like, seriously, again, now with the shoes. Who invented high heels? Why are women expected to literally walk around on their toes all day? Now, you know how uncomfortable it is to wear high heels, but man, they look so sexy, right? Yeah. So we've all been conditioned that that's what we want. We want to look good for men. So we put up with the pain so that we can look good. Better to look good than to feel good. You've heard that, right? Yeah, that's what we've all said throughout our lives. And now I think, how stupid were we? Boy, we were dumb. And I'm glad that the next generations are smartening up. I'm not saying that nobody's ever going to wear high heels again or anything that's uncomfortable. But what I am saying is we are no longer solely focused on what we should be doing for a boy or a man's attention. We have our own dreams and desires and goals in life now, and some of them have absolutely nothing to do with men. And that's why they are going crazy. They are going crazy right now. They're complaining about how lonely they are. They're complaining that they're not getting the intimacy, shall I say, that they want to have. And instead of trying to evolve and become better partners so that women will want to be with them, regardless of the fact of whether we need them or not, because that's what's happened, is we've gotten to a point where we don't need men for financial reasons, for protection, even for procreation, really. And this is leaving men like, what am I supposed to do then? Because men have been taught that is your role in life. You are supposed to get married. You are supposed to provide for your family. You are supposed to protect your family. And then you are supposed to procreate to make your family, obviously in a different order than what I just mentioned. But, you know, when that is no longer the case, men don't know what their role is. They don't know what they're supposed to be, how they're supposed to act, and what they're supposed to contribute. And that is another victimization of the patriarchy. It doesn't just hurt women. It hurts men as well, because all of these men have been told this, 3 Ps. You have to procreate, provide, and protect. And now we're saying, you know what, we don't really need you for all of those things. They're lost. They really just don't even know how to start being an equal partner, because nobody's ever talked to them about it. Nobody's told them how to be an equal partner, because that's what women want now. Women want equal partners. They don't want somebody who expects us to be subservient to him. No, we want to be in a partnership and add to each other's lives. We don't want to be each other's lives. We want to add to each other's lives. And you will never convince me anything else that is the reason that they overturned Roe v. Wade, is because all of these men were very angry that women have come so far in the last 50 years. It only took 50 years for women to realize we don't really need men. We don't really need them. If we want to have a family and be married, then sure. And that's still a possibility. There's lots of women that still want to get married and have a family, but it's not something that's necessary for our own survival. And instead of trying to level up to where we have come, they're just going to try and hold us back down. They're going to try and pull us back down and hold us down there. And thus far, it's working. It's been over a year now since Roe's been overturned, and things have just gotten progressively worse. Women are in horrific health situations now because of these abortion bans. Maternity wards are closing down because doctors don't want to work in states with abortion bans, because they take a Hippocratic oath to try and do everything they can to help people get better and to heal. And they know that they have a procedure that can help a woman that is in danger of getting sick. When they have that procedure taken away from them, they don't want to watch that woman get sicker and sicker and sicker and be halfway to death before they are allowed to take action. They don't want to see it. They don't want to be part of it. And I don't blame them. But what about the people that are left that actually want to have these babies? They have nowhere to go now. This is what they're doing. And they know this, and they still don't care. I get myself all worked up. I do. I get myself all riled up. Big breath. Deep breath. Breathe in. Release the tension out. Okay, so what can we do now? Well, we need to start examining things in the way that they are in reality, not in the way that we were told that they were. Are you feeling broken? Are you feeling lost? Are you feeling incomplete? That's because you've been forced to be somebody that you're not your entire life. You've been forced to fill a role of wife and mother, whether you wanted to or not. You've been told how you can dress, what things you have to wear, how much makeup you need to be putting on every day, how much you have to spend at the beauty salon because you have to cover those grays. Yeah, that's right. I got grays going on right now. I don't care. I don't care. That's another thing. You know, I'm on TikTok a lot, and I see all of these women come on to make a video, and they say, I'm sorry, I just, ran in the house from work, and my hair's a mess, and, excuse my appearance. Never seen a man say that. Never once have seen a man say, oh, excuse my appearance. I'm just a mess right now. No, we're constantly trying to live up to these expectations, even when we know that they're wrong. And the problem is that when you stand up against these expectations, people turn on you. And it takes a very strong person to hold up to that. And I am trying to hold up and take what people are willing to shove at me, which is a lot. And it's hard. It's really hard. But this is the only way we're going to make change. And I hope that you will come along with me to help make this change in this society right now, because now is when we need it the most. So, as I was saying, some of the reasons that you've always felt a little off and incomplete is because you have never been allowed to be the person you truly are. And once you strip down and take off all of these expectations that the patriarchy has put on you, you will be able to find yourself, the real you, the one that has been hiding, waiting inside of you since you were a little girl. And when that conditioning was starting to take effect. And that's when you can discover your true purpose in life. You can discover what it is that brings you joy, the hobbies and activities that you like to do. Hang out with only the people that you want to hang out with. Do the things that you want to do. Make yourself the priority in your life, like it has always should have been. You can be the priority in your life and still be a wife and a mother and a coworker and a sibling and a daughter. You can do all of that and still manage to carve out a life that you love. But it's not until we strip away the patriarchy. It's not until we stand up and say, no more. We are not going to follow these rules that we never agreed to anymore. That is my hope for you. And I hope that you come along with me and you listen to more as I break down more and more ways that we have been conditioned, more discrimination that in ways that you've never even considered before. It is so rampant. It is unbelievable. So stay with me. We will delve into more week by week. If you get a chance, check out my website. It's hopefulist.com. And if any of this resonated with you, first of all, I would love to hear your feedback. Whether you liked what I'm saying, whether you don't like what I'm saying, I would love any and all feedback. But if you did like something today, please go ahead and share a social media post of mine. Share this episode with a friend. And if you haven't already, well, gosh, nabbit, go ahead and hit that follow or subscribe button. It doesn't mean that you're going to be charged anything. You will never be charged anything for this podcast. It is merely a way to get the podcast right to your listening device each and every time I release an episode. So I thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you being here. I want you to go out there this week and be badass. I want you to create a life, to live a life that matters to you. And I'm right here, always cheering you on. Thank you for joining me in this conversation. Together, we are better. Please visit my website at hopefulist.com and remember to hit that subscribe or follow button.